Welcome to the 45th installment of ESPN The Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm your host, Tiff Wells. With me today, she's a 2019 All-Big West First Team selection, a 2021 preseason All-Conference pick, senior forward from Rainbow Wahine Soccer, Kayla Ryan. Kayla, welcome to Talk Story.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Now, first off, we noticed the hair. We see a little bit of pink towards the end. Is there a story behind why you have pink highlights?
Yeah, so for me, it's just a real superstitious kind of thing. My freshman year when I came here, it definitely was not my best season. I struggled a lot with performance anxiety, and then that just affected my performance in general. And late into the season, I dyed my hair. It wasn't this vibrant of a pink, but it was like a pinkish, purplish kind of color. And, I played some of the better games that year with my hair like that. And then, kind of became superstitious. So when I came into my 2019 sophomore season, I wasn't doing that well again. And, I was here and I was talking to my mom and I was like, oh, I should just do the pink. I should just go pink, try it, see what happens. And we went pink. And then, I had the best season I had ever had. And then, the pink hair, don't care kind of stuck. And so we're back to it. But it was definitely something that I had done in my childhood as well. I was a swimmer for a really long time. And, for our championship meets, I would dye my hair red because that was the team color. So it was just something that I had done in my childhood as well. I actually played at YPO when I was 12 or 13 and my hair was blue because that was our soccer team color. So it kind of just stuck and here we are. It's a good luck charm.
Is there a chance maybe it gets to be a green tinge, say if you guys make the NC2A tournament?
I've thought about doing green, but I feel like that would just be an odd color, to deal with. And it's really hard to get out too. Blue was super hard to get out. So, we'll stick with the pink for now.
We're recording on a Wednesday, and of course, this being the day after the exhibition match you folks had on campus yesterday against Tusculum. With the team not having played since the 2019 Big West tournament in that semifinal round, describe the feeling. I know it was an exhibition game, and results don't mean much, but just to be on the field with playing against somebody other than your teammates, what was that feeling like? What were the emotions like for you and the team?
We were definitely just really excited to get out there. After a while of just playing each other, it gets a little bit repetitive and, a little bit boring. You miss some of that hype and that game day feeling and all of that. So we were just really looking forward to playing someone else, somebody that doesn't know us and we don't know them, where we could throw some strategy in there, really show ourselves, because this is the time to show yourselves in front of the coaches and just in front of the Big West as well, to show this is what we've got. So we were just really excited to get out there. And just everything that we did yesterday, I thought was really productive. We're trying to form chemistry right now, trying to figure out, lineups and things of that sort, and just coming together as a team and figuring out how we cope well or how to cope and when situations aren't going our way. We had the goal really late in the game and we would have rather had that come sooner with maybe a little bit more success throughout the game. But we're really just figuring things out right now. And so we're just excited to get after it and see what happens.
Does it get a little frustrating just as a team when you have so many shots on goal early on in the game, especially throughout the first half, where one doesn't find the back of the goal net?
Most definitely, especially being a forward myself, that is probably the most frustrating thing ever. I know yesterday I had, a shot or came off of a cross that I got a foot on that definitely should have gone in. And I had been beating myself up ever since, about it, because that's just super frustrating. And I know as a team, we talked about it a little bit after, we had 17 shots and 1 goal. So that's pretty low on the accuracy chart there, especially after coming off the 2019 season where we were I think top 10 in accuracy for our shots. So we definitely have some work to put in there, but it was our first game back in a really long time. It just takes time to rebuild that connection and we'll get there.
This coming Sunday, a second and final exhibition against Hawaii Pacific. What are you looking forward to for yourself, but also for the team moving into the final exhibition of the season as you guys get ready for season?
I think as a team, we're really just looking to build that chemistry. That was what was missing In our first exhibition game, you know, it was kind of individual, some of the efforts, and it took us a little bit to get going. So I think in this upcoming game, we're just looking to come together as a team, you know, maybe find that chemistry, find that connection within each other and have some more success, just so we can have some really good confidence in ourselves going into our actual preseason where it starts to count.
You're a senior. Has it hit you that this is your final season of collegiate soccer?
It definitely is, you know, a little bit stressful, and there's some anxiety with it. I'm looking more forward to playing my extra season, my COVID season, because there's some eligibility rules with that. I've been playing this my whole life, and I would really just like to see it out for as long as I can go. So I think I'm going to stay for my 5th season, which would mean that I would have another season after this. Hopefully, you know, things have to work out and the coaches want to keep me and everything like that. But I'm really hoping to stay here. So it's not truly my final season, but definitely there's a lot of weight on this season for me in general. Just I had my breakout season in 2019. And, you know, sometimes if you look at stats, that comes with a little bit of a slump in the following season where you don't do as well or you don't get as many stats. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to proving myself and proving that it wasn't just a fluke, and hopefully not having that slump and just continuing on and, you know, improving every game.
This might be the first time we've had sort of breaking news that a player is announcing that they would like to take advantage of an extra season.
Yeah, I do. You know, it's just something that I love doing. Like, this is what I've done my entire life. And I feel like when I'm older, if I didn't take the opportunity, or at least try to take the opportunity at a 5th season, I would regret it. I came from a very, very competitive family. And, you know, I hear from my father and my mother all the time that they really miss competing. And I just don't want to get to that age and go, oh, shoot, I should have taken my 5th year. So we're going to try.
How competitive were those family barbecues or just games in the front or backyard with your parents? Because you mentioned how competitive your family is.
Yeah, we are all super competitive in high school, including my parents. Everybody, their freshman year, made a varsity team in high school. You know, I grew up, I was the baby of the family. I have an older brother. So always got beat up on as a kid, you know, was never, you know, the dad, just let her win for once. You know, my brother was always like, no, why would I do that? So anything I had to do as a child or win, I had to do it my way. You know, I had to fight for it. And it's definitely why I'm a D1 athlete now. I think if my brother had ever gone easy on me as a child, I would not have been as successful as I am now. But everything is competitive in my family, like board games, you know, whoever wins. Even during COVID, when we couldn't see each other, we would literally have family game nights on Zoom, because you just got to get that competition in there, you know? So definitely a real competitive family. Was never let me win. Never any of that. Always had to work hard for everything.
The Big West added 2 teams to the conference for the season. And yes, you guys made the conference tournament in 2019. Preseason picked to finish in the middle of the pack, number 6 in the conference. Do the team look at it as motivation? Is it bulletin board material, or do we just not care about preseason polls because they're preseason and they're for mostly the media to talk about?
You know, I would say it's a little bit of both of that. You know, it definitely is for the media to talk about, but in the grand scheme of things, the coaches vote on that, right? So we do have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder about that. You know, because especially in my opinion, when I was talking to the coaches about it and things like that, I was like, how could we have gotten voted so like middle of the pack, lower than I thought we would after my entire time here? You know, we've been climbing, and it's just one of those things where it motivates us even more to do better, because if you're going to underestimate us, we're going to show you what exactly we can do. And every year, I think we've done that. I think my freshman year, we were voted to come in last and we came in 5th. So we've always done better than what the rank is. And we're just excited to, you know, continue that trend and prove ourselves to all the other coaches that, hey, we're here. You don't want to mess with us. Like, you need to pay attention to us. We're going to win. So.
You mentioned mental health, and that's been something that's been at the forefront of sports for the last couple of weeks, especially with Naomi Osaka and a host of other athletes. Take us back to last year, specifically into July, when the Big West announced that there were going to be no fall sports, that things were getting postponed. you weren't going to have a season. Do you remember where you were when you heard this notice, and what did you process about not having a season in the fall?
Yeah, I was here in Hawaii because we were all just looking forward to coming back and preparing like we were going to have a season, because that was the number one thing. In a world that's full of unknowns right now, like let's just prepare like everything's going to be normal. That way we're not caught off guard if we actually do have a season. So I was here, and I just remember getting that text and then calling Bud, because my main concern, right, was our seniors that have put so much time and effort into this not getting their senior season, and eligibility and what comes with not having a season. And it was definitely hard, because it was just like everybody's world just got like 180 turned in like 6 months, right? And then to lose something that you really love, that keeps you going all the time, that was really difficult, caused a lot of anxiety, caused a lot of like, well, what happens if we get through this time and this is no longer what I love doing the most? Like, what is my life going to look like? What is school going to look like? Will I ever get to play again? And that was a really rough time. I know for a lot of people, got us into some like therapy kind of stuff, like opportunities where you can use talk space, which, I know some of my teammates used. UH offers free counseling for a certain amount of times per semester. I think we had a sports psychologist come in for a little bit. So UH definitely tried to help with that a bunch, which was, I know, really helpful for a lot of people.
Flash forward then about 6 months later in the year, December, conference officially announces fall sports will not be played in the winter into the spring of 2021. Had this been maybe the longest time in your soccer life that you had not had soccer?
Yeah, this was definitely the longest time I've gone without soccer. I've had my fair share of weird injuries throughout my time that were kind of rare, that made me take more time off than I would have liked, but it was never more than 3 months, 4 months maybe. And that was still with me being able to go to practice and see people and all of that. And to go, I think they were saying yesterday, it was like 650 days we went without a game. Like, to go that long without actual competition, that's really difficult. What really helped us was being able to at least practice and at least see each other so we can work on it so it's still there. But definitely going that long without soccer was really difficult, because, we put our whole life into that. And to just have that stop, it's like, okay, I have all this free time. What do I do now? So it was hard.
I can only imagine, Kayla. Now, when we come into 2021, it's the summer. You start to see, you watch, of course, the College Cup, different, teams, players, probably a lot of friends that you have are playing soccer on the mainland. But when you come into this past July, Coach Bud talks about a schedule. We see a schedule release. You have a full season of matches. How excited were you to see a full schedule out for the 2021 season?
It was really exciting. I'm not going to lie. Like, that was like Christmas for me. That was so great, because it was like, finally, like, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Like, some of this stuff is coming back. We're getting to play. We're getting to actually prep towards something, because I know that was really hard for me and a lot of my teammates, of practicing, but like, what are we practicing for? And it's really hard to keep in mind, like, okay, we're still practicing because eventually we'll get to play. But, having a schedule come out and going, oh, great, we get to practice together without the coaches for this small time to prepare for this. And then we actually have a preseason to look forward to, something to work towards. That was just the most exciting thing. And I think that really helps with motivation for our team. And, we're just looking forward to everything. I think it really taught us to not take things for granted. I feel like sometimes when we're out on the field, we're like, oh, okay, I missed that shot, I'll get another one, which is true. But eventually, maybe you won't have that option. Maybe this is your last game and you just never really know. So, we're definitely learning to not take things for granted this season, and just the excitement levels are just through the roof for everyone.
As we've done a lot of these talk stories, or these Fan Friday talk stories, and we talked with players and coaches, and we asked them, during the pandemic, did you learn something new about yourself? And a lot of them picked up cooking or baking or a craft, or they found a hidden talent about them or something like that. Did you pick up anything new?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't really think I did, to be honest. Like, I know my parents did that. They got really into cooking and the baking and things like that. I think for me, we still had school, so it was focusing a lot on that. Focusing a lot on friendships as well, because when you're not able to see each other all the time, you want to keep that connection with people. So I would say, keeping those connections up and forming, new relationships with people was really like my goal. And so I think that's really what I had focused on. I don't think I started anything really new.
Last one here, Kayla, before we take our break. Speaking of cooking, we see on social media, it's all over the place. Your head coach, Coach Bud, she has a smoker, she has a grill, and everything that she smokes on it, it looks quite good. Now, has she been able to share the final product with you guys, with the team?
Not yet, but we always talk to her about it. That's for sure, because we see it all the time and we're like, when are you going to grill for us, Coach Bud? Like, we're waiting. So we're hoping normally around Christmas time, we'll do like a Christmas Secret Santa or White Elephant or whatever. And it's normally at her house. So hopefully if COVID, gets a little better, then we'll be able to do it then. And then she could feed us all, because we've been looking at that for like a year now. Like, come on, Bud, where are you?
We're all looking forward to that too, Kayla.
Yeah.
All right, we need to take a break right here, so stay right there. Along with senior forward from Rainbow Wahine Soccer, Kayla Ryan, I'm Tiff Wells. You're listening to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. Welcome back to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm your host, Tiff Wells. We're here with senior forward from Rainbow Wahine Soccer, Kayla Ryan. Now, Kayla, as we talked about the 2019 season, that final game at Long Beach, you guys needed a result and some help to make the conference tournament. Reflecting back, making the conference tournament, first time in program history, you count it as a successful season, and how happy were you to make the conference tournament?
We were all extremely happy. We were in a hotel room in Long Beach, I believe, watching the game. It was Cal Poly versus Irvine, I believe. And we were all just sitting there, and a goal would come and we would cheer and we'd be like, oh my gosh, it's going to happen. And then it ended up being tied. And we were like, our season relies on this game. And then we ended up getting the result we wanted. There's a cool video of all of us in a hotel room, and we're all screaming and celebrating and cheering. And, one of our coaches actually had to come to the door and tell us to quiet down because we were waking up the entire floor. But we were just so excited because that was our goal. We've never made the conference tournament ever. That was a big statement for us, just to be there, and even though we didn't get the result we wanted when we were there, it's just more of a drive now to be like, hey, we've made it. We've proved ourselves that we can belong in this conference, that we are a team that can win. So now that we've gotten there, let's get there again and then start getting the results that we want and try and win the whole thing. So
since you've been at UH, you've had jersey number 14. Has that always been your number?
It has not always been my number. My number when I was growing up was number 9, because when I was younger, in third grade, I think, I wrote a report about Mia Hamm, and I loved her. She was so great, everything I could have ever wanted to be, and I became number 9. When I came to UH and it came time to pick numbers, Kenzie had picked number 9 because that had always been her number, and 14 was open, and that was the one I took. And that was a really meaningful number to me as well, because one of my best friends, childhood best friends, basically a sister, her number was number 14. And my other best friend, the three of us, 3 amigos, till death, they are like my sisters. She was number 23, and 9 plus 14 equals 23. So, it's still super meaningful to me.
Athletes are superstitious, and we hear this more often than not with baseball players. Would you consider soccer players superstitious? Are you superstitious?
I think my hair says that I'm superstitious. Yes, I'm very much so. And I would definitely say we are superstitious. There's some weird stuff going on. We were talking about it yesterday at our game. We have girls that when they feel like they're not doing well, will put their hair in a braid because they once played well when their hair was in a braid. Or we have girls that'll play with a high ponytail even though they don't like it because they play better when they have a high ponytail. I've met people that will put on their socks and shin guards and cleats a certain way every single time. People that will, wear the same spandex sports bra combination every game because they think that's what helps them. We're definitely very superstitious, but I don't think we're as out there as baseball players.
Do you have a game day routine, and does it change if it's a home game or a game on the road?
I wouldn't say that I have like a set routine really, but I'll definitely like stay towards more like the same foods and stuff like that. So like I'll always have a sandwich before for lunch before a game. I'll listen to the same sort of music before games. I'll put on I'll admit I'm one of those weird like shin guards people. So I'll always go like left sock, left cleat, right cleat, and then left shin guard, right shin guard. So I'll do things like that, but I don't have anything super like I wake up at this time and do this and do this. So it fluctuates a little bit, but somewhat similar.
We know you're born and raised in San Jose. We talked about soccer for practically our entire Fan Friday so far with you. What other sports? You mentioned swimming. Were those the two sports you played growing up?
Yeah, I played a little bit of everything growing up, but those were the two I eventually kind of settled on. Swimming, I grew up at the pool, so I learned at a very young age how to swim. And then I joined a swim team when I was about 5 years old. Didn't really like it very much, but my brother did it, so I still did it. And then when I was 6, I broke one of the team records, and that kind of changed the game for me. That's when I became like super invested in it. I would practice with my age group for an hour, practice with my brother's age group for an hour, and then we would come home and practice an hour or two in our pool. And then I just became really involved with swimming. That was only summer. Rest of the year was soccer. But yeah, that's what I did with swimming and soccer for the longest time.
With soccer, when did you first start playing it, and have you always been a forward?
I started playing probably around 4 or 5 years old, just like neighborhood team kind of stuff, like, little kid. I call it beehive soccer because all the kids follow the ball, right? And that's about it. So I started playing that fairly young, and I haven't always been a forward. Actually, for the longest time, I was a defender. I actually had to beg to play forward on my club team. So when things started actually getting competitive and playing soccer, they had me as an outside back, which was fine. I liked it. Just to be on the field was great. But one day my coach came up to me because I kept wanting to play forward, and he was like, "Why do you want to play forward?" And I told him that I would rather get hit by a bus than play defense again. And so I started playing forward then. I ended up switching teams a few years later, and they also put me at outside back, but they switched me off outside back and outside forward. And then I would say like my junior year of high school was when my club team started exclusively playing me at forward. But for my high school team, I actually played center back all the way through.
We know there is one. Is there an embarrassing story playing soccer growing up for you? One that sticks out?
Oh. For the longest time, my dad still does it now. Both of my parents actually make fun of me for it now. But for the longest time, my nickname was Crossbar because I would always hit the crossbar, no matter what. Like any shot, hit the crossbar, hit the post. When I do it now, I get all the jokes from my parents like, "Oh, like, look at that. Haha, that's so funny." Right? But that's probably, I don't have any like one moment that's super embarrassing, but I would say that was it. Like I could not score a goal to save my life. I'd always hit the crossbar.
Can you describe for us the first time you put on that UH jersey?
Yeah, so I remember my first game versus Texas A&M, Bud telling me and Kenzie like to go warm up. I remember sitting there and I was like, "Oh my, I'm gonna poop my pants. Like, this is terrifying," because it was just like, oh my gosh, like I've worked my whole life for this. Like everybody's gonna see me. Like, what if I suck? All that kind of stuff. So it was definitely a very prideful moment to be like, oh my gosh, I made it. Like, this is everything I've ever dreamed of. I had people like club coaches telling me that I should look at D2 teams because I'm not good enough to play D1. And so that was just a real like big moment for me to have, a jersey to wear when people told me that I wasn't going to make it, and to let alone have it be D1 and to actually get a good fair amount of time my first game. That was a big moment for me.
And then a couple weeks later, your first start in the starting 11, did you guys take on Grand Canyon? Do you have some of those same butterflies knowing from head coach Michelle Nagamini that you were going to be in the starting 11?
Yeah, that was also a very like happy but scary moment. Because it was all just happening so fast, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I made it. And I was just really fighting for a spot on the team and for playing time in general, and trying to find an identity for myself as well. So that it was very exciting getting that. I remember that being texting my parents and being like, oh my gosh, I'm starting. So it's definitely one of those big moments that always sticks out in my head about my career here.
7 goals in 2019. Do you have a favorite goal celebration, or does coach let you guys celebrate?
We definitely do celebrate. Scoring a goal is one of the hardest things to do, right, in college soccer. And so we are allowed to celebrate. We're encouraged to celebrate. I don't really have a specific celebration that I do, but Eric Matthews, our media guy, when we were doing media stuff, told me to put my hands up in the air for it, because I guess that's what I do after every goal, is I immediately put my hands up in the air oh my gosh, I scored, right? So I would definitely say that is probably my thing.
What are you most looking forward to for this season? I know we've had one exhibition game. We have a second one coming up later this weekend, but just you talked about being excited for the team, having it feel like Christmas more so. What are you looking forward to the most here in 2021?
I'm just looking forward to playing. I'm looking forward to winning. Having fun, because people are oh, go out there and have fun. Well, winning is fun for me. So I'm looking forward to going out and, just really building off of what we did in the 2019 season. We have a lot of new people. It's 60% of our roster has never played an actual D1 game before. So I'm just looking forward to that, and looking forward to see how we do in the Big West, what the Big West is going to think of us, how they're going to prepare for us, because how do you prepare for a team that you don't really know anything about? So I'm looking forward to those moments, and looking forward to a lot of goals, and just, having a successful year.
Who's the better cook, mom or dad? And what's the one dish that you wish you could have for dinner tonight?
You're going to start a fight with that one. I would say my mom cooks more, but my dad tries to cook new things more often. So I would definitely say for meals, I'd probably pick out my mom as the better cook. I would say for desserts and baked goods, I'd probably pick out my dad. If I could have a meal right now, a home cooked meal, I would probably say any sort of pasta. I'm definitely a pasta person. That's been my go-to my entire life. So probably that.
If Coach Bud gives you guys a day off, especially during season, which probably doesn't happen very often, but if she did, how are you spending the day off?
If it's during season, I'm probably just at home sleeping, to be honest, and just relaxing. I don't prefer to go to the beach during season, just because it's really dehydrating and all of that kind of stuff. So during season, I probably just stay home, catch up on a bunch of things that I've missed out on. So TV shows, schoolwork, just house chores, things like that. But definitely it's just a day to relax and to just calm the mind, because it is really stressful going through season.
We know that Hawaii teams have to travel a lot of airplane rides and all of that. When you do travel and you have to obviously take your carry-on bag with you, what are some of the necessary items in your carry-on bag to help you get you through that 5.5 hour flight to Cali and then back home to Hawaii?
Yeah, definitely my laptop. That's really important. Got to have your Netflix and headphones and everything like that. Water, got to hydrate, because it's very dehydrating. Snacks, because I get hangry and I need to eat. Yeah, those are definitely the necessities, just food, water, and Netflix, because I can't really sleep on planes. I have problems with that. It's really difficult for me. So I'm pretty much awake the whole 5-hour flight. So I got to entertain myself somehow.
It's penalty kick time. You're walking up, getting ready to take your shot. Where do you normally like to go and aim for during a PK?
Well, based on last season, it would be my right side, but I definitely don't prefer either side. I go based off the goalkeeper. So I see what they're doing and then decide based off of that.
If mom and dad are watching this, last one here for you, Kayla. If mom and dad are watching, what would you like to tell them?
I would like to tell them thank you for putting me through soccer, because that's really expensive, and coming to all of my games, and always being there for me when things get hard. There's things that my family had told me, because I've gone through a lot of adversity in my soccer career, from always having to fight for a spot. I was never given a spot on a team. That was just not how it worked for me. Here, not making a travel roster, like, they were definitely the people that I leaned on, always the people I call after every game. They would always say to me, and it's a quote by somebody, I'm not sure who, that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And that is something that has always stuck with me, because they would always say it to me, because I was never the most talented on the team ever. Anything that I've ever done, any minute I've ever played, has always just been straight from hard work. And they were definitely the ones that taught me that preached me that, and that always supported me through that. So if I had anything to say to them, I would say thank you for the endless support and endless time in my life, and helping me be successful as I am today, because I definitely would not be successful without them, or my brother as well. So
Kayla, this has been so much fun. We appreciate the time you've given us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck this season.
Thank you for having me.
For Kayla, as well as the rest of us here at ESPN Honolulu, I'm Tifo saying thank you so much for joining us here on the 45th edition of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. Until next time, wear that mask, stay safe, be socially distant.